G'day folks, and welcome back to the channel for a quick Grim Dawn news update. It's been a little while since I've done one of these, so I've got some catching up to do. This video is going to cover the Grim Misadventures posts, number 180, 181, and 182, as well as patch 1.2.1.0's patch notes, which is going live next week. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to start with the Grim Misadventures post, and first up is Grim Misadventure number 181. This one is from April 2nd here in Aussie land, so the April Fool's joke was a little late here, but it was still amusing. It was a separate post, and I'm not going to be covering that in this video, but I will provide links in the description if you want to have a chuckle. GM 180 is a sneak peek into a few legendary items and effects that will be coming in Fangs of Astrakhan. First, there is art and names of 4 new items. So we've got Armageddon, which is shown only as a Chaos or potentially Fire Sword. No word on if it's one or two-handed, no tooltips, we just have the art. Next is a one-handed lightning hammer named Eternium. More details on this soon, as we do have the tooltip for this item below. Then comes Ragefire, which is one of the new hand crossbows coming with fangs. Yep, that's right. Dual-wielded one-handed crossbows is going to be a thing. Maybe you use one of them with a shield, whatever tickles your pickle. More details on this one in a sec as well, as again we have the tooltip for this one. The last item they show is the Sanguine Crescent, which could be either a scepter or a caster offhand, though my money is on the scepter. This does look kind of chaosy as well, so maybe we're looking at some sort of chaos conversion for a skill that doesn't have it currently, or it could just be generic chaos stuff. So let's get into the tooltips. We've only got tooltips for 2 of those 4 items, but they do provide some interesting information. I also have to remind people here that this stuff is in development and it is subject to change, which, I mean, we're going to see something like that right away here with the mythical Eternium. This is a one-handed mace with lightning and aether flavors. This one was going to be a way to get permanent wind devils, but as I'll cover later with the patch notes, Wind Devils are going to be permanent from next week anyway. This one also includes bonuses for the Stormbox of Elgoloth, so it will be interesting to see what they do with the Wind Devil stuff, or with the item in general, because half of the bonuses, and probably the main reason to use this weapon, are no longer relevant. So, like I said, it'd be interesting to see what happens with this item. The mythical Ragefire is going to be another Aether-based weapon, this one a crossbow. The interesting things here are the 10% chance to be used with Bursting Round, adding Aether damage to Bursting Round as well, but the increased weapon pool skill chance is something I haven't seen in the game yet, so increasing the chance of that is potentially fun. If you could manipulate which weapon pool skills trigger a little bit more reliably, that would be very interesting. The other notable thing here, well, there's 2 more notable things actually. The first is Onslaught. I'm pretty sure that's a new skill. But the second one is +1 charges to Evade. Now, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of modifiers in Fangs of Astrakhan for the Evade skill, and it kind of looks like ranged builds are going to have a few advantages in mobility. So we'll have to wait and see for more information on that, but it does look promising, at least so far. Grim Misadventures number 181 is a little bit short. It's from May 7th, and it announces the arrival of new animations for spears, as well as telling us that Fangs of Astrakhan will feature a lot of new spear-type weapons. So here's some of the animations they show. But to me, this sounds like they're making spear-type weapons kind of a thing, which is awesome, and new animations are always welcome. But this might also imply maybe a new constellation for spears. Most other weapon types have one, but there's been no word on those, and I think they did initially say that there won't be any new constellations with Fangs of Astrakhan. So maybe spears get added into one of the existing weapon-based constellations, or maybe they just stay as generic two-handers. The animations do look really cool, though. Grim Misadventures number 182 is from 1 day ago at time of recording. This one covers one of the new enemy types coming in Fangs of Astrakhan, as well as their weapon MIs. Here you can see the art for the giants, which look pretty cool. This one looks to be the same model, just in a different pose. And the weapon doesn't have any kind of glow or anything on it, but I do expect we'll be seeing glowing weapons. So basically because of this art here, but next thing I'll cover is their weapon MIs. So the ones shown in GM 182 are the poison and pierce slash bleeding spears. So spears confirmed. The tooltips do in fact call them spears and not axes. But this is the only weapon art we've been given. The Titan's serrated spear has bonuses to Wendigo Totem and also Blade Trap, which is a bit weird because Blade Trap is generally considered to be not very good. So I'm wondering if there's going to be any changes coming to Blade Trap with Fangs of Astrakhan. We'll kind of have to wait and see. The Titan's Poison Spear has bonuses to Rallying Cry, which you could be forgiven for thinking was a soldier skill, because I did it first. But it's not. This looks like it's a new skill for the Berserker Mastery. What does it do? Well, we don't know, but I think we can say for certain that it has at least a 4-second skill recharge, and that's probably all we can say for sure about it. There's also a teaser at the bottom of the post that talks about rare giants that assume the form of the elements themselves, and that they no doubt carry weapons that resemble their bearer's boundless fury. So this does look like it's going to be another set of weapons similar to the Corvin Spears, and I'm 100% here for it. Now, onto the patch notes. So there's still a week before this patch goes live, so obviously some of this could change, but there's a good chance that these notes are going to be final. I'm also not going to read through the entire patch notes here line by line, or we'll be here all day. So I'm going to summarize, and I'm going to give overall themes and point out anything noteworthy. I encourage you to go to the links provided in the description and read it for yourself if you want item by item level details. So let's get into that. The major new features section here, it's more or less a summary, and the first entry is with regards to Nemesis spawns up here. Nemesis monsters are no longer going to have a set spawn location, and they will now spawn near you whenever you've killed enough of their faction's monsters. So it's no longer enough to just know where they can spawn and be careful around those locations. They can be anywhere where their followers are. You do get a notification when they spawn, and they still show on the map as giant skulls, but there's going to be a lot more tiptoeing around areas, waiting for them to jump out from behind a corner, and there's going to be a lot more surprise deaths from Nemesis monsters now, which is awesome. The second major new feature here is one that I'm going to be turning off. It's nice that it's an option, but it's not one that I really want. So item tooltips will now hide detailed information for components, augments, and skills by default. You can show it all by holding Control, and you can turn this feature off in the options menu by enabling detailed item tooltips. This is something that has been happening a lot in recent ARPGs, where they hide a lot of the information. I'd rather just see it all, and if I have to scroll because the tooltip is, 2 screen lengths tall, that's fine with me. For those of you who prefer the more condensed version, though, this might be a good thing for you. The third thing is something that people have been freaking out about ever since it was first announced months ago. There's a pass being done on physical damage and physical resistances. The short story here is that percent physical resistance is being removed or reduced from most sources. Your physical resistance percentage on almost every character you have is going to be considerably lower. To compensate for this, monster physical damage is being reduced across the board. Now, my testing on some characters I had showed that almost every single one of them was tankier after this change, with the only character, a Death Knight with not great armor and 80% physical resistance, that was the only one I had that was squishier. So don't worry, folks, this is likely a buff to the vast majority of characters. And as the patch note says, this was done to close the gap between characters that could stack large amounts of physical resistance versus those that can't. Next change is going to be the potions. So potions are being classified as elixirs, oils, and tinctures. I think they already were, but all of them will be now. you can only use one of each category at a time. So no more spending 20 minutes drinking potions before every boss fight. You only get 3 now. Aether clusters and energy potions are called out specifically as notable exceptions, and I assume the healing potion is also exempt, but it doesn't say it. It would be kind of silly if it wasn't, but it's not written there. And lastly, we have a major pass on pet skills and itemization. So the basic idea here is that pets are going to be attacking slower, but their special attacks will be more powerful. Permanent pets are going to be tougher and do more damage than temporary pets. And it's also noted that a lot of pet power has been taken out of the item, or the item sets rather, and has been transferred to the base skills and devotions. Now, I like this change because previously building a pet character was a simple matter of putting on the set for whatever pet you were going to be using, and then using a handful of items to convert damage types to what you want, and then you only really had a couple of item slots to really use. Most pet builds kind of built themselves, and there wasn't a lot of wiggle room before you were just kind of doing it wrong. So I'm pretty happy with that one. The first noteworthy point that's not included in the major new features thing is down here. So some extra skills are going to get their graphical effects updated when their damage type is changed. So in the game currently, let's take Force Wave for an example. When you use it normally, it has that standard color, but if you have the conduit to change it to cold damage, it'll have a nice blue glow. If you have the Arcanor sword to change it to elemental damage, it'll have a nice purple glow. If you have the axe from Shazul to change it to fire, it'll have a nice fire, like glow red sort of thing. But some skills could be converted fully and still retain their original colors. So this note lists a whole bunch of skills that have had their graphics updated when they're converted, and the Gazerman and Miss Gazerman chess pieces have also had their gotten a slight post-loyalist pack upgrade, as they say there. Also down here, we've got the vendor shopping. So this first tab here is basically, we don't like you buying double rare items from vendors, so we're going to make it easier or more efficient for you to go and farm them. I'm okay with this one. It kind of sucks because I just finished making a guide where I told everyone to go and vendor shop the book. But this is probably a good change in general for the game. I don't know that it's going to be enough to kind of kill vendor shopping for MIs, but making them more reliable, more efficient to farm is definitely a good thing. Other notes here is that physical resistance has been removed from the first page of your character sheet. It's gone to page 3, and stun resistance, physical has moved to the first page. Stun resistance has gone to page 3. Another one here is that the shields got a slight buff. Previously, anytime you took damage more than your shield block amount, you would only get 70% effectiveness. You now get the full 100%. This, I think, is probably not enough to make them worth using, except on dedicated shield builds. But it's still going to help some builds, so that's kind of good. They also removed or reduced many sources of resist reduction that was on non-boss heroes. Again, another thing you don't really have to watch out for now, but overcap amounts did just change again. So we'll have to learn all those percentages all over again. And then the other one here that I wanted to highlight is that Sunder effects applied by super bosses has just got a 30% increase. Now, I don't think this is plus 30%. I think this is a 1.3 multiplier. I haven't been keeping up with these notes for a little while now, but I do remember Xantai saying that that was the case in the past. This would be something I would have to test. So there's a lot of other changes, and I mean a huge amount of changes. One of them being that the Wind Devils from the Shaman are now permanent. So once this patch goes live, you no longer have to resummon your Wind Devils every 4 seconds forever. You cast them once, and they are just there. But as you can see, there's a lot of other changes. There's changes to what looks like every single item in the game, every constellation, all the different masteries. There's huge amounts of changes. So As I said above, I'm not going to go through it all line by line, but links will be provided below if you want to read all the details yourself. But that's going to be the end of the video, so I'd like to thank you all for watching. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything important. Throw me a like if you think I've earned it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye for now.